Welcome to my icicle mobility this morning. I'm Janine with Whole Body Health. We're doing our 10-minute mobility. It is really cold here today. Actually, I shouldn't say really cold. It's only like 20 degrees. It's been colder, but it's pretty chilly. Set the heater in the garage first thing this morning to take the chill off, and we flipped a breaker. And so it's really cold in here. So anyways, I bundled up like I'm going to the snow, and that is why. But let's go ahead and get going with our mobility today. You will need a foam roller. We're going to integrate the foam roller into kind of a movement flow series today, working on the lower body and the hips primarily. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and come into, let's go into a wide leg stance. Make sure my head's not cut off here. Okay, wide leg stance. We're going to shift over, so go ahead and turn into a side lunge. Or we're going to hang out here for a second. Okay, just kind of rocking back and forth, checking things out. Now we're going to shift so you're facing forward into a different kind of side lunge. Okay, and again, I'm just kind of hanging out here, feeling how things feel. And I'm going to shift over to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. For right now, I'm not worried about the torso. Torso can be bent over. We will change that position in a moment. Just kind of checking things out here. Now we're going to switch to the other side lunge. So those are our positions. So now we're just going to flow through those positions. So back facing, shift it over, stay low on that shift, and into this position here. Okay, and we're just going back and forth. Again, not worried about the torso yet. That's coming up. Noticing how the hips feel, trying to drop them down towards the floor. Okay, and now we're going to think about our torso position. So we're going to come up a little higher with the chest, facing forward. Okay, go with your range of motion. If you're up here, that's fine. We just want to get that good stretch through the inner thighs, a little bit through the back of the hamstring there. Okay, maybe a little bit in the glutes. Okay, so go with your range of motion, but we're just flowing through this, keeping the torso up a little taller. Okay. Let's go ahead and go one more time. Make sure you're breathing. Okay. Now let's go ahead and grab our foam roller. So we're going to stick the foam roller on these upper glutes here, right across the hips. So you've got the crest of the hip bone. We're going to go right underneath that in the soft spot. Okay, so we're start on one side. We're just going to give a little bit of roll up and down as I kind of shift forward and backwards so I can get that whole upper glute area. I'm just giving little rolls. I like to think of rolling as steamrolling the tissue or ironing out the tissue. There's a little tender spot for me near the sacrum. Okay. And then let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Same thing on the other side, that upper glute area. I'm just kind of rolling up and down as I change the angle of my body. Rolling forward so my chest goes more towards the ground. And then back so I can get all the way to the back on that sacrum area. This area gets locked down a lot of times. When we talk about activating our glutes, a lot of times these little stabilizer muscles are still part of our glutes, but they're meant to stabilize our pelvis as we move. They become more active. So that large, big butt muscle doesn't necessarily do the job that it should. These little stabilizers kind of take over. So they get really tight, overused. We use them a lot because they stabilize our pelvis. So very important to give them a little attention too. Okay. And then we're going to come off that roller, go ahead and set it aside. We're going to go back to our wide stance, and we're going to shift into that side lunge. Keep that torso up now. Side. We're doing the same movement we just did. So we're kind of doing a test and retest here. Okay, how did things change? Do you notice a difference now? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you do, that's an area you definitely need to address when you're working on your mobility, those upper glutes. If you don't, that might not be a problem area for you. Okay, one more time. Okay, working that range of motion. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our roller again. This time we're going to take it along our back. So start in the middle of the back. Give yourself a big hug. We're gonna roll up to the shoulders and roll back down. So nice and gentle, just opening up the back a little bit. Those back muscles, those postural muscles get really tight, overused, fatigued. A lot of us have very weak postural muscles, so therefore they fatigue really fast. So it's still an area that you definitely want to address, both mobility-wise and then also strength-wise. A little bit of rock side to side. Let's go ahead and open those arms now, arching over the top. If you can, go ahead and drop your bottom so you can get a full arch over. And let's go ahead and come off that roller. And that roller aside again. Let's go back to our wide leg stance. Drop into that side lunge. And we're just going to go through that flow again. Good, now we're checking to see what kind of difference, if any, that made. So some of you might notice it's a little easier to stay upright. Some of you might not feel a difference. It all depends. Everyone's body's a little different. But right now we're just noticing the difference. What makes a difference? Let's go and do one more each side, just because it feels so good to move the hips. Okay. So now, we're not going to use the foam roller for the next one. We're going to come down on all fours. We're going to do a little bit hip roll. So let's see if I can get a good view here. So we're going to bring one knee up, come all the way around, and then back through. Working that full range of motion, trying to keep the back as flat as possible. So that way we're not getting into one of these, so if I can get an angle, in one of those, right? So keep the back flat so your core is still engaged. We're just trying to find some range of motion in that hip. If you have little circles, that's fine. You got to start somewhere, right? Go ahead and reverse that direction. The slower you can move, the better, more controlled. We're using those muscles as well as increasing the mobility of our hip. Okay, go ahead and switch sides. Big circles. And then let's reverse. One more. Okay, you guys know what's coming next, right? We're gonna go into our lunge series again. So wide stance, drop into the lunge, keep that torso up nice and tall. We're gonna shift side to side. Notice if there's any difference with this one now. The hips feel a little bit better, a little more mobile, a little looser, easier to move. Let's add another element to this. We're going to keep doing this, but can you go arms up? Not, you might have some tightness in the lats underneath here. Remember, if you need to be here and be higher, that's fine. The important part is that you're moving, right? Let's do one more. You arms up, arms down, whichever you feel. Okay, so one more thing before we end. We're almost done already. Goes by fast, doesn't it? Okay, so let's go and get into a fairly wide stance squat. I'll turn sideways for this one. Okay, we're gonna come down into the squat, grab onto our toes, and raise your butt into the air. And then down again, and up in the air. If you need to go a little wider for this, that's fine. Okay, just make sure those knees are going out, okay? So we don't want the knees to ever cave in here. You want them going out. You want to get the chest open and up. Push those hips back as you lift your bottom. We're gonna do a couple more. One more. Okay, and come on down to the floor. Let's end in child's pose. Okay, guys, that was our mobility, our icicle mobility today. If you have anything you want me to address, I do these segments every Monday. If there's something in particular you're having issues with, you can send me a private message or you can comment. Just ideas on areas that may be trouble for you or that you're having trouble releasing, that are just you've noticed are kind of locked down. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to include that in one of my segments. Otherwise, you guys will just get what I'm doing for myself and things that I find pop up with some of my clients. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today. Enjoy the rest of your week. Make it great. Stay safe, stay warm, and I will see you guys next week.